The official campaign hasn't begun yet, but the news for the NDP heading into the October election is somewhat gloomy. The numbers from CBC's poll tracker puts the New Democrats at 14% support across the country. And now an NDP stalwart is calling out leader Jagmeet Singh over the riding nomination process. So there's a lot to talk about with Hannah Thibodeau. She's part of our Canada Votes team. So let's start with Singh being called out, Hannah.
Right. So this is a letter from the former president of the Ontario Federation of Labour. His name's Sid Ryan. He ran in 3 provincial elections, 2 federal elections in 2004 and 2006, and he was going to run in this one. He says because people were pressuring him to run in Oshawa again. He says he has name recognition, he can fundraise, so he threw his name in. But he wasn't getting vetted. You need to be vetted to be a candidate in any of the parties. And in this case, he said he's been waiting so long that he says that the nomination process is a complete mess at the local level. But not only that, he says that at the NDP headquarters, they can't get their act together. So he's saying this is a huge mess for him, but not only for him, for others. After he put this Facebook post out yesterday, he said he heard from people all across the country facing similar situations as him. And like I said, he says this lowers their chances of getting elected in this campaign. But not only that, he says he's hurt by it. Take a listen.
It frustrates me because I've dedicated my life to working on the NDP, with the NDP. I was the only union leader in the province that went out and raised $500,000 to build a monument to Jack Layton. I didn't see anybody at the federal party stepping forward to build a monument for Jack. I did it. I've dedicated my life to the party, and I think I've been treated with a lot of disrespect here, treated as if I'm persona non gratis for some reason by some apparatchiks in the party behind the scenes, and I just think that's simply wrong. So I'm speaking out to fix this problem. Well, look, the buck stops at the leader. I mean, that's the old adage. When I was the president of the Ontario Federation of Labour, any problems out there in the labour movement, it stopped at my desk and I had to take responsibility. So I wrote to the leader basically saying to Jagmeet, look, I'm giving you an opportunity here to try to solve this problem and give me a fighting chance.
So he says he pulled his name out. However, he did have a qualifier there that if he does hear from Mr. Singh today, which he hasn't as of yet, or the party, and they approve his to run in the riding, then he would jump back into the game, but he hasn't heard anything as of yet. And not only that, Andrew, it's not just in this riding that they're having problems with nominations. Across the country so far, the NDP have only nominated 175 candidates. That's of 338, and we are close.
That's just slightly more than half, right?
Just slightly more than half, and only, I think, 6 more than they had a week and a half ago. So
the party also has struggles beyond the nomination process. These are low polling numbers.
Yes, extremely low polling numbers. You said in the beginning across the country, and these come from our poll tracker, that the NDP is at 14%. That's low. That's really low. But when you break it down by regions, let's start in Atlantic Canada. In Atlantic Canada, 11%. Extremely low, but that's not where they really hope to pick up. Look at Quebec, 11%. Bad news for Singh in Quebec when you're that low, especially.
About a third of their caucus, something like that, is from Quebec, right?
Yeah.
So that's low.
Because under Jack Layton, of course, that's where you saw the orange wave and them becoming official opposition under Jack Layton. In Ontario at 15%, and then we go further out to the prairies. They're at 15% there. Break that down a little bit more. In Alberta, 10. Look at this one, though. In British Columbia, 18%. Again, this is where the NDP hope to make a little bit of ground in this election campaign, and that is where Jagmeet Singh, in fact, has his riding, his official riding. So that's
from Brampton, Ontario, but he ended up running and winning in the Lower Mainland, right?
Exactly. So those polling numbers at this time, and that's from our Eric Grenier, where he puts all the polls together, those numbers are not looking good. So they have a lot of work to do.
Another issue for the NDP is fundraising. What's happening on that front?
Ouch. There are no new numbers out, but they need a war chest when they head into a federal election campaign. The NDP have raised $2.7 million in the first half of this year. Okay, might sound like a good chunk of cash. Compare that to other parties. The Conservatives, $16.5 million. The Liberals, $8.9 million. And listen to this. So NDP 2.7, the Greens have raised $2.2 million. And the Greens are just starting to come up in popularity too. So one of the things about this is we heard that Mr. Singh wasn't out at a lot of these fundraising events. And you need a leader there because that's where people want to see who is going to represent them in the election campaign. And that's where they start to get those bigger donations. And when you look at other leaders, so he maybe has been to a handful. If you look at maybe Justin Trudeau, he's had like in the double digits. So in the 50s or 60s.
We should always remind people, though, a lot can change in an election campaign.
Absolutely.
Remember, the Trudeau Liberals were in third place, and we know what happened in 2015, right?
They came to power, and at that point in time, Tom Mulcair was poised to become the next prime minister at the beginning of that 8-week election campaign. So
We'll
there
see.
you go.
All right, Hannah, thank you.
Quite welcome.